For a year, he had harbored a silent fixation on his neighbor, Caleb Vance. Caleb lived directly across the hall. Every morning at 8:30, a collision was inevitable. He would emerge, a paragon of crisp, clean professionalism, his white Oxford shirt sleeves rolled just so, revealing the strong lines of his forearms and a watch that whispered of old money. Caleb would offer a smile, his teeth impossibly white, and a genial morning greeting. The young man would invariably duck his head, pretending to fuss with a shoelace, his ears burning as he mumbled a reply to Mr. Vance. He never dared say more. The man was an archetype of perfection, handsome without a trace of arrogance. Once, juggling a precarious stack of boxes from a recent online shopping binge, he'd fumbled for his keys. Caleb, returning home, had not only held the door but had asked if the load was heavy, if he needed a hand. He had stammered a refusal, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He believed, perhaps foolishly, that Caleb had taken some small notice of him. The consistent smiles seemed to suggest it. Then came the evening encounter that fractured the pristine image. Taking out the trash, he found Caleb leaning against the cool metal of the freight elevator, a cigarette dangling from his lips. The man was in a black shirt, the top 2 buttons undone, a silk tie hanging loose around his neck. His gaze swept over, indolent and heavy-lidded, a stark departure from the bright-eyed man of the morning. He was a different person entirely. The young man froze for a second as Caleb exhaled a plume of smoke, his eyes narrowing. Caleb had asked him what he was looking at. He just shook his head and scurried into the elevator, his pulse erratic. The dissonance was staggering. After that, he began to observe, confirming it wasn't a trick of the light. The daytime Caleb was composed and courteous. The nighttime version was a rogue, a creature of shadow who smoked in the stairwell and carried the faint, sharp scent of bourbon. His gaze held a predatory glint. A pang of disappointment hit him. The flawless man was a facade, but a strange, unsettling truth followed. He found himself drawn to both. He was losing his mind. This afternoon, the city was bathed in a warm, honeyed light. He gathered his courage, deciding today was the day. After an eternity spent fussing with his hair in the mirror, his heart threatening to leap from his throat, he walked to the door across the hall. He took a deep breath, raised a hand slick with nervous sweat, and knocked. The door swung open, and he froze. The man who answered was Caleb, but not the one he knew. He wore a loose-fitting, faded band t-shirt and pajama pants, his hair a chaotic mess. His eyes were bleary, laced with the irritation of someone recently woken. A miasma of stale smoke clung to him, an aura of raw, unsettling energy. It was the man from the night. He wondered why he was home at this hour, looking like this. Caleb leaned against the doorframe and asked in a gravelly voice if he needed something. His meticulously rehearsed speech evaporated. This wasn't in the script. He stammered that he was looking for Mr. Vance. Caleb's brow arched. He asked which one. The young man was speechless. A slow, knowing smirk spread across Caleb's face. Not the gentle smile of the morning, but something sharp and mischievous. He told him to come inside. Before he could react, a hand shot out, grabbing his arm and yanking him into the apartment. The door clicked shut, the deadbolt sliding home with a sound of finality. His heart stopped. The apartment was dark, heavy curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. The air was thick with the smell of smoke, old liquor, and Caleb's own distinct, masculine scent. He was pinned against the door, Caleb's body a wall of heat in front of him. His breath hitched as warm air ghosted across his forehead. Caleb pressed him to finish what he had been about to say. His legs felt weak. He confessed in a voice barely above a whisper that he liked him. Caleb went still for a moment, then a deep, predatory chuckle rumbled in his chest. His eyes gleamed like a wolf that had cornered its prey. He liked him too, he purred, his lips brushing against his ear. He added that he especially liked this innocent, breakable act. His entire body went rigid. Before he could process the meaning, Caleb's mouth was on his, a bruising, demanding kiss that tasted of smoke and left no room for protest. It was dizzying and overwhelming, nothing like the first kiss he had ever imagined. His body betrayed him. His hands were too weak to push him away, instead fisting the soft cotton of Caleb's shirt. Sensing his surrender, Caleb's assault became more brazen. One arm snaked around his waist, pulling him flush against his body, while the other began to explore. A small sound escaped his throat, swallowed by the kiss. It was an endless, suffocating eternity before Caleb finally pulled back, leaving him gasping for air against his chest. His face hot enough to fry an egg. Caleb looked down at him, his gaze dark and intense. He commented on how new he was to this, a low laugh in his voice, and asked if he'd never been with anyone. Shame kept him silent. With a sudden movement, Caleb swept him into his arms and started toward the bedroom. Panic seized him. He demanded to know what he was doing. Caleb's reply was blunt, explaining his carnal intentions as he tossed him onto the bed. The mattress was soft, and he bounced slightly before Caleb's weight settled over him, pressing the air from his lungs. He made a desperate plea, trying to push him away, stammering that the Caleb he saw in the morning wasn't like this. The hands working at his jeans paused. Caleb looked up, his expression unreadable. He mentioned the morning version, the one who was so gentle. Caleb stared at him for several long seconds, and then a strange, mocking laugh escaped him. He said, with a cold edge to his voice, that it was a shame that the one he liked wasn't the one who was here now. He then bit down on his collarbone, a sharp sting of pain. He didn't understand. What did he mean, he liked him? What did he mean, now it's me? Who was Caleb Vance? Before he could find an answer, his jeans were gone. The cool air on his skin made him shiver. Caleb saw his fear. He bit his lip, nodding and shaking his head at once. Caleb's eyes darkened, and he warned him it was too late to be afraid now. He pinned his legs. The young man's nails dug into his palms as Caleb commanded him to relax. It was impossible. He showed no patience. A sharp cry of pain tore from his throat as tears flooded his eyes. Caleb paused, leaning down to kiss the tears from his lashes, his voice rough as he told him to endure it for a moment. But it didn't get easier. He was ferocious, as if exorcising some deep-seated demon. He felt like a ship in a hurricane, tossed and battered, on the verge of splintering apart. All he could do was cling to Caleb's arms, his nails leaving angry red marks on his skin. Eventually, the pain dulled to a thrumming ache, replaced by an alien sensation that bloomed deep inside him. He bit his lip, determined to stay silent, but Caleb wouldn't allow it. He ordered him to make a sound. When he refused, the pressure intensified until his defenses crumbled completely. By the time it was over, the sun had set. He lay sprawled on the bed, every muscle aching, a sticky discomfort coating his skin. His spirit felt just as bruised. Caleb leaned against the headboard and lit a cigarette. After a long drag, as if remembering he was there, he offered it to him. He shook his head. Caleb took it back, the smoke curling around his sharp profile, blurring his features. He finally spoke, telling him that from now on, he should come over after 4 in the afternoon. He stared, confused by the instruction. Caleb shot him a sideways glance, explaining that he was home before 4. The other him, a wild, impossible idea began to form. He asked if they weren't the same person. Caleb exhaled a cloud of smoke and smirked, remarking on how long it took him to figure it out. The realization struck him like a physical blow. Dissociative identity disorder, something he'd only ever seen in movies. He asked if Caleb was the alter. The term seemed to displease him. He corrected him, stating that he was the Caleb of the night. So his confession had been for the gentle man of the morning. But the one who answered the door was this cruel, nocturnal version. And he had just slept with him. What was he supposed to do now? He wondered if the daytime Caleb knew he existed, or what this other personality had done to him. He quietly asked if he knew about him. The nighttime Caleb laughed, a sound full of mockery. "Not yet," he said. He stubbed out the cigarette, rolled over, and pinned him again, his hands beginning their improper work once more. But, he added, he could always let him know, and they could see if he'd be disgusted by him. A chill went down his spine. The daytime Caleb was so perfect, so immaculate. If he knew what had happened in this room, would he ever look at him with that same gentle expression again? He would probably find him repulsive. He begged him not to tell. Caleb's hands stilled. He looked at him, a playful, calculating light in his eyes. He was so afraid of his rejection. He bit his lip and nodded. A triumphant smile spread across Caleb's face. Then that, he said, would depend on his performance. He didn't explain what he meant, but his actions made it clear. Another round of torment began, this one longer and more inventive. He forced him to say shameful things until his mind grew hazy and he was on the verge of passing out. Afterwards, he carried him to the shower. His movements weren't gentle, but he wasn't rough either. Too exhausted to open his eyes, he let himself be maneuvered like a doll. Caleb dried him off and put him back in bed before starting to dress. He asked unconsciously if he was going out. Caleb confirmed he had things to do. Dressed, he picked up his phone and wallet, then paused at the door, looking back. He reminded him, after 4 p.m. Then he was gone. The apartment fell silent. He lay in the unfamiliar bed, his body screaming in protest, the air still thick with the aftermath of their encounter. It all felt like a surreal, twisted dream. He had slept with his crush's alter ego and promised to keep his secret. This was madness. He dragged his weary body out of bed, dressed, and fled back to his own apartment. Under the spray of hot water, he tried to scrub the night away, but the evidence remained. The mark on his collarbone, the fingerprints on his waist, the bruises on his thighs. He slid to the floor, hugging his knees, his emotions a chaotic storm of shame, panic, and fear. But beneath it all, there was a tiny, illicit spark of excitement. He really was losing his mind. The next morning, dark circles under his eyes, he left his apartment and nearly collided with Caleb. He was back in his uniform of a crisp white shirt and tailored trousers, looking impeccable, a world away from the man of the previous day. He saw him and smiled. It was the same gentle smile as always. His heart leaped into his throat. He managed a quiet good morning in return. Caleb's expression shifted to one of concern, noting that he looked unwell and asking if everything was okay. He really didn't know anything. He lowered his gaze, mumbling that he hadn't slept well. Caleb nodded, advising him to take care of himself. They stepped into the elevator together. In the confined space, he could smell the clean, fresh scent of laundry detergent on Caleb's clothes, a stark contrast to the smoke and liquor of the night before. Caleb spoke suddenly, making him jump. He pointed out that there was a red mark on his neck. He quickly covered his collarbone, where the love bite was. He stammered that it was probably a mosquito bite. Caleb offered a small smile and didn't press the matter. When the elevator reached the lobby, he nodded a farewell and walked away, his posture perfect, his stride confident. He stood frozen, his mind a battlefield. 2 Calebs. One as warm and bright as day, the other as dangerous and alluring as night. He was supposed to love only the light, but the darkness had already left its mark on him. At 4 p.m., he sat at home, his anxiety a live wire. His phone buzzed. It was a text from the nighttime Caleb. He'd forcibly saved his number yesterday under the contact name Your Caleb. The message was 2 words, a command. Come over. He stared at the screen, torn. To go would be a betrayal of the man he'd first fallen for. But not to go, he remembered the feeling of being pinned to the bed, the raw, violent power that held a strange, magnetic pull. In the end, he rose and walked across the hall. The door opened. He stood there in a black t-shirt and jeans, a faint trace of smoke about him. A corner of his mouth lifted when he saw him. He was punctual, he noted, stepping aside to let him in. The apartment was as he remembered it, dim and slightly messy. Caleb closed the door and pressed him against it again. He whispered, asking if he'd missed him. He didn't answer. Caleb didn't seem to care, lowering his head for a kiss. This one was softer than yesterday's, but no less dominant. When it ended, he asked if he had spoken to him today. Took a moment to realize he meant the daytime Caleb. He confirmed that they had exchanged greetings, and that he had asked why he looked so tired. Caleb seemed pleased with this, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. He asked if he'd noticed any of his marks. He shook his head. Caleb's mood visibly lifted. He pulled him to the sofa and asked if he'd eaten. When he said he hadn't, Caleb ordered takeout on his phone. He watched him, the same face, the same bone structure, but the essence was entirely different. The daytime Caleb had clear, gentle eyes. This one's were deep and sharp. He finally asked why there were two of him. Caleb's fingers paused over his phone. He looked up, asking if he was curious. He nodded. Caleb put his phone down and leaned back into the sofa cushions. He said it was from when he was a kid. His parents had died in a car crash, right in front of him. The young man was stunned. Caleb explained, his tone flat, that he couldn't handle it, so he had created him. He took on all the pain and the negative emotions, which was why the other one could be so clean. He spat the word clean with a sneer. He didn't know what to say, a heaviness settling in his chest. So that was it. He asked if he knew about his existence. Caleb confirmed that they had shared the same body for over 20 years, but that he disliked him, thought he was dirty. His heart ached for him. Even though he had done terrible things, he was still a part of Caleb Vance, a part rejected by the primary self. The takeout arrived. They ate in silence. Caleb had ordered a spread of incredibly spicy Thai food, a complete departure from what he knew of the daytime Caleb's tastes. He didn't like spicy food, but he did. After they finished, Caleb pulled him into his lap. He told him he wanted to try something different tonight. He tensed. Caleb just smiled and pulled a silk blindfold from a drawer. Tonight, he wouldn't be allowed to see, only to feel. He tied it over his eyes, and the world plunged into blackness. His other senses became painfully acute. The sound of Caleb's breath, the heat of his touch, the intensity of his kiss. It was even more electrifying than the night before. He clung to his shirt as if it were a lifeline. When it was over, he was limp in his arms, the blindfold soaked with tears. Caleb removed it, looking at his red, swollen eyes. He asked if he had cried. He looked away in embarrassment. Caleb seemed satisfied and carried him to the shower. This time, his actions were much gentler. He even helped him blow-dry his hair. He then ordered him to stay the night. After a moment's hesitation, he agreed. Lying in his arms, breathing in his unique scent of smoke and musk, he suddenly felt that this version of him wasn't so terrifying after all. The days that followed fell into a strange rhythm. A double life. In the mornings, he would face the courteous, affable Caleb with a guilty heart, avoiding his gaze. After 4 p.m., he would fall into the arms of the dangerous, alluring Caleb. He knew it was wrong, but he was powerless to stop it. He wanted them both. One morning, the daytime Caleb stopped him. He noted with a gentle smile that he hadn't seen much of him lately and asked if he was busy. He nodded guiltily, confirming he had been. Caleb looked at him, his expression kind, and advised him to take care of himself, remarking that he looked tired. The guilt intensified. The reason he was tired was sleeping in Caleb's bed every night. He thanked him for his concern and watched him walk away, his heart a tangled mess. That night, he couldn't help but ask the other Caleb if the daytime version really had no idea about him. He was smoking, and his eyes flickered toward him. He asked if he wanted him to know. He quickly denied it. Caleb took a drag from his cigarette. He said he would find out sooner or later. He explained that while their memories were separate, their physical sensations were linked. He flicked the ash from his cigarette. He might notice that his body felt different. He grew nervous, asking what would happen then. Caleb laughed and pulled him close. He asked what he was so afraid of. It would be better if he knew. He'd been wanting him to know for a long time. To see the little lamb he fancied was spending every night in his arms, begging for more. His face flushed crimson. He denied being like that. Caleb's hand began to wander, asking if he was sure, if he needed a reminder of how he'd pleaded the night before. He squirmed away, telling him to stop. Caleb roared with laughter and pulled him back into a hug. He was only teasing. In a rare moment of tenderness, he held him and told him not to worry. He wouldn't do anything to him. That kind of man would just internalize it all. His tone held a barely perceptible note of loneliness. It dawned on him then that for all his professed hatred, he cared about the other Caleb. They were two halves of one whole, and to be rejected by the other half must be agonizing. He wrapped his arms around him in return. Caleb's body tensed. He asked what he was doing, his voice hard. He just buried his face in his chest, deciding in that moment to let himself love them both, as twisted as it was. The next morning, his mind was in turmoil. As expected, he ran into the daytime Caleb. His expression was complicated. He barely managed a greeting, his eyes fixed on the floor. Standing side by side waiting for the elevator, Caleb spoke suddenly. He had a dream last night. His heart hammered. He asked what kind of dream. He dreamt, Caleb paused, that he was in it. The elevator arrived. In the small, quiet space, he could smell his clean, fresh scent. He confessed in a low voice that in the dream, he wasn't very good to him. His palms began to sweat. He forced out a reply that dreams were often the opposite of reality. Caleb turned and looked at him, his gaze searching. He asked if that was really true. He couldn't meet his eyes, but he insisted it was. Caleb was silent for a moment. Just before the doors opened on the ground floor, he turned back and told him that if he ever came looking for him, he should stay away. He was left standing alone in the elevator, frozen. He knew. He had figured it out. That night, he went across the hall and told the other Caleb what had happened. He listened, then let out a cold, bitter laugh. He was good at playing the hero. He lit a cigarette, inhaling deeply. Then he looked at him and asked what he was going to do. If he was going to listen to him and stay away. He looked at him, at the self-loathing and fury in his eyes. He walked over, took the cigarette from his fingers, stubbed it out, and wrapped his arms around him. He wouldn't leave. His body went rigid. He called him a fool under his breath, but his arms tightened around him, holding him closer than ever before. The days became a tightrope walk. He was being pulled apart by the two Calebs. The daytime one looked at him with growing concern, while the nighttime one held him with an increasing desperation, as if competing with an unseen rival. He knew they were fighting, for control of the body, and for him. He was being shredded. One day, the daytime Caleb knocked on his door. He was surprised. He'd never initiated contact like this. Caleb stood in the hallway, looking pale and gaunt. He wanted to talk. He let him in and poured him a glass of water. His fingers were white as they gripped the glass. He knew about the other one's existence, he said. He was silent, which was an admission. Caleb continued, saying he also knew about what was happening between them. He couldn't finish the sentence. His eyes filled with pain. He felt a pang of sympathy and apologized softly. Caleb shook his head, insisting he was the one who should be sorry. He had created him. Everything he did was rooted in him. He shouldn't have let him hurt him. He looked at this man, gentle to his very core, taking all the blame. He told him it wasn't his fault, nor was it entirely his altars. He had been a willing participant. Caleb stared, shocked. He explained that he liked the man of the day, but he also didn't dislike the man of the night. Caleb looked at him as if he were a stranger. He asked if he liked both of them. He nodded. It was absurd, but it was true. A pained, broken smile touched Caleb's lips. He whispered that it wasn't right, that it wasn't normal. He deserved better. He should stay away from them. They were both monsters. With that, he stood and left, his retreating figure looking impossibly lonely. After that day, the daytime Caleb began to actively avoid him. Their morning routine ceased. He felt a profound sense of loss. The nighttime Caleb changed too. He became rougher, more silent, his lovemaking a desperate, angry release. Once he heard him and he couldn't stop the tears. He froze, looking down at him with an unreadable expression. He asked if he made him cry too. He shook his head. Only he made him cry. A smile that was sadder than any tears touched his lips. He said that was good, then. But he could feel his unhappiness. They were all miserable. He was destroying them. He couldn't take it anymore. He decided to force a conversation with the daytime Caleb. He knocked on his door. When he opened it and saw him, he stiffened. He looked thinner, with dark rings under his eyes that pained him to see. He asked if they could talk. After a long pause, he stepped aside. It was the first time he'd been inside the apartment during the day. It was neat and orderly, the antithesis of its nighttime state. He asked what he wanted to talk about. About him, he said, and about the other him. Caleb's body tensed. He said there was nothing to discuss. He raised his voice, insisting there was. He asked if it wasn't agonizing for them to torture each other like this. A bitter smile. He was used to it. He turned to the window, explaining that he'd always known someone else was inside him, taking his pain, and he had resented him for it. He turned back, his eyes red-rimmed, and asked if he wasn't a terrible person. He shook his head. He was just trying to protect himself. But he couldn't protect him now, he said. He didn't want to hurt him, but the other one would. And so would he, because neither of them was whole. Tears streamed down his face. He didn't care. But he did, Caleb insisted. He deserved a normal, complete person who could give him all their love, not a monster like them. He grabbed his hand, insisting he wasn't a monster. His hand was cold. He was Caleb Vance, and so was the other one, and he loved them both. He pulled his hand away. He begged him not to say it. But he had to. The daytime him, so gentle and considerate, had made his heart flutter. The nighttime him, so dominant and real, had enthralled him. It was insane, but he wanted them both. Caleb looked at him, his expression a storm of conflict. It was impossible, he said. Only one of them could exist. He froze. He asked what that meant. Caleb gave a weary smile. The body could only have one master. A chill ran down his spine. They were fighting for control. Caleb nodded. It had always been this way, a delicate balance. His appearance had shattered it. Because of him. He wanted him, and so did the other one. They weren't just fighting for him. They were fighting for their very existence. The winner would control the body, and the loser would vanish. He asked, his voice trembling, if there was another way. Caleb shook his head, his eyes exhausted. It was always going to come to this. He had only sped it up. His heart felt like it had been stabbed. He grabbed his arm. Couldn't be like this. Caleb looked at him, his gaze full of sorrow, and asked him to choose. He was paralyzed. Choose whom? Choose the daytime Caleb, and the night would disappear. Choose the nighttime Caleb, and the gentle man before him would be gone. How could he choose? He wanted both. He said it, his voice shaking. Caleb gave a tearful smile, calling him greedy. He was. Caleb asked him not to go to him that night, to give them some time. He looked at him and finally nodded. That night, he stayed in his own apartment, tossing and turning. His mind a chaotic mess of them both. The thought of either one disappearing was unbearable. 3 a.m. His phone screen lit up. A text from the nighttime Caleb. A single word. Come. He stared at it, his heart pounding. He knew. He knew how torn he was, how much pain he was in. Why was he calling him? Should he go? His body moved before his brain could decide. He found himself standing before his door. It was unlocked. He pushed it open. The apartment was dark, illuminated only by the moonlight filtering through the windows. He was sitting on the sofa, shirtless, a bottle of liquor in his hand. When he saw him, a wry smile touched his lips. He knew he'd still come. He walked closer and asked why he had called. He took a long drink, then looked at him, his eyes shining in the dim light. He had wanted to see him, maybe for the last time. His heart clenched. He said the other one was right, only one of them could stay. And he was going to let go. He was stunned. Let go? He meant he was going to disappear. He said it so calmly, but it felt like an explosion. He shouted no. He laughed. He asked if he would miss him. He rushed over and grabbed him, telling him yes, he would. He looked at him, his gaze softening for a moment. He called him a fool again, pulling him into his lap. The smell of liquor and his skin was intoxicating. But, he said, his voice low, he would miss him even more if he was in pain. Tears welled up in his eyes. He said he wouldn't allow it. He leaned down and kissed the tears away. He told him not to cry. The other one was better than him. He was clean and gentle and deserved him. He would only ever hurt him. He shook his head furiously. He was good too. Caleb held him tight. Hearing him say that was enough. That night they did nothing. He just held him on the sofa as the city slept. As dawn broke, he released him. He told him to go, that the other one was waking up. He looked at him, trying to burn the image of this man, the dominant, real, secretly tender Caleb, into his memory forever. He leaned in and kissed him one last time, telling him that no matter who stayed, he should never forget the other. He froze, then a genuine smile broke across his face. He promised he would. He went home. His eyes were red and swollen, and his heart felt like a hollow cavity in his chest. Later that morning, he heard the door across the hall open and close. The daytime Caleb had gone to work. He didn't go out. He didn't know how to face him. That evening, he received a text from your Caleb. Don't come tonight. Don't come ever again. He stared at the screen as tears splattered onto the glass. He had chosen to disappear. For him, and for him, the nighttime Caleb was gone forever. The next day, he forced himself out the door and ran right into him. He was in his white shirt, looking exhausted. He stopped when he saw him, then smiled. But the smile was different. It lacked some of its usual gentleness and held something else, something he couldn't quite place. He said good morning. He whispered it back, ready to flee, but he was stopped. Caleb asked if he was free that evening. He wanted to take him to dinner. He stared, confused. He looked him in the eyes, and his gaze was strangely familiar, holding a depth the daytime version never had. He asked why. He stepped closer, saying he wanted to talk about him. His heart seized. He asked how he was. Caleb was silent for a moment, then said he would tell him that night. The entire day was spent in a fog of anxiety. At the restaurant, Caleb ordered a table full of spicy food. He was stunned, asking why, since he didn't like spicy food. Caleb smiled and said his tastes had changed. A thought sparked in his mind, but he was afraid to ask. After dinner, they walked home. Just outside their building, he stopped. He's gone, he said. The tears came instantly, even though he'd been prepared. But he added he wasn't completely gone. He looked up, confused. Caleb pointed to his own heart. He's in here. We merged. He couldn't comprehend it. Merged? Caleb nodded. He had made the choice willingly. They had talked for a long time. Neither of them could bear to lose him, so they chose a third path. His heart raced. So now, Caleb looked at him, his gaze both tender and tinged with something roguish, a perfect fusion of day and night. Now he was the complete Caleb Vance. He reached out and gently wiped away his tears, his touch soft, but his eyes held that familiar possessiveness. He would open the door for him in the morning, and he would pin him to the bed at night. His face went bright red. Caleb laughed. He leaned in and kissed him. The kiss was complex, a blend of daytime tenderness and nighttime dominance. His knees went weak and he leaned against him for support. "So both of you are here," he confirmed. Caleb rested his forehead against his. He told him that he was to tell him that he loved him. More tears came. "And you?" he asked. Caleb looked at him, his eyes glittering in the dark. "I love you too. Both of us love you." He took his hand. "Let's go home." He nodded. "Who's home?" Caleb smiled. "Ours." Caleb still lived across the hall, but he rarely went back to his own apartment anymore. The man he was with now was perfect. He made him breakfast in the morning, waking him with a gentle voice. In the evenings, they would watch movies and sometimes he would smoke, but always on the balcony. The way he looked at him always held a dual meaning. One night, lying in his arms, he asked what they had said to each other on that last day, the day they merged. Caleb stroked his hair, silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. He said, "Love him for me." He hugged him tighter. "And what did you say?" Caleb leaned down and kissed him. "I said, I'll love our boy with all of my life."